Megaloponomos Gutsunis from also from Government. Thought I'd get the coverage there. So look, I think I've got two beautiful daughters, and obviously they're 100% Ethereum, which I think gets down to the grassroots of why we love Githita. Let me tell you a bit about my history, which John touched on. I've studied valuation and construction. I was vice president of LJ Hooker in Hong Kong and lived there for 3 years. I was general manager of a property development company in Brisbane, managed over 180 million worth of projects in Brisbane and Queensland all throughout. Then I worked for the late Ken Talbot, a mining magnate who died in the plane crash in Africa, you might have heard. I worked alongside him for 3.5 years. Of that time I worked in Sri Lanka for 2 years with Ken and oversaw a development there of $4 billion. It was an international port and handling facility with a heavy industrial development attached, which will become one of the biggest ports in the world. So as you can see, my point here is I've travelled all over the world, but there's only one place in the world that keeps drawing me back to it, and that is Githita. So 8 years ago, I embarked on a journey to build a house in Githita on my father's village of Gallamos. It was always my wife and I dream to build a house of our own for us to enjoy and our friends and family to come and visit. We saw we could have a future on the island that we both loved. We see a future in Hong Kong. We see a future in Githita. We see one day our children may be working in Europe and visiting Githita frequently, maybe just for a long weekend, once more international flights fly to and forth from Europe into Githita. We see a different Githita. Githerian descendants like my wife and I look to base ourselves maybe one day in Githita for 6 to 9 months a year, and using it as a base for travelling in and out of Europe. We have a lot of Githerian friends, a lot from Sydney that we meet there every year, and Brisbane alike. And we're very like-minded, we're all the same age, our kids are the same age, we all keep getting drawn back in the same fashion every year. And I see this growing, this familiar cycle, where we're all aspiring to one day spend more time in this place called Githita. So I'm in the building game. So I went through the hurdles of building in Githita, which I would not have embarked on had I not been in the building game. My journey was relatively painless, due to my experience obviously, and also due to one man, George Butzows, which I'll talk about further down. George has built over 60 homes on the island. He's a bit younger than me, he's 42. I'll tell you more about George later. So out of this journey and building this house in Githita in Gallamos, the association with George came to a point where we wanted to do business together. So we formed a joint venture, and we call this joint venture Githita Living. Githita Living is a home and building construction company. My role in Gifted Living is to serve as a bridge, being on the ground in Australia, liaising directly with Australian Catherians, to guide them through the process which, without the client, you not being happy, this business can't evolve. We offer a one-stop shop, a turnkey service, thus eliminating all the stress involved in dealing with public authorities and supervising construction from a distance. Our objective is to assist those who always wanted to build a house on Gifted but always feared it, and you all have heard the horror stories. We will eliminate all the anxiety involved in coordinating construction from a distance and deliver a finished house on time and on budget. Gifted Living's scope starts from land acquisition, moving on to architectural design, town planning approvals, construction, and even furniture packages. Gifted Living will deliver a quality, completed home on time and on budget for your family to enjoy. A little bit more about our services. That's a couple of our designs that we offer, the whole course 80 and the colour there 111. We offer a land acquisition consultancy. If you have your own block of land, that's great. If you don't, we deal with some local real estate agents. One is, which is here, Manolis Kasimatis, Lucky as we know him. He's fantastic. Through our network, we can, you can consider a range of properties, and at the same time we can discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each specific plot, bearing in mind factors such as building provisions and regulations, which is key. You don't want to go buy a block of land you can't build on, or you can't do what you want to do with it. Custom design service. Gifted Living has several pre-designed houses. There's two there for you to select from. However, our design team can alter the designs and design a new one to meet your requirements. Design parameters such as land size, orientation, access, views, family needs, etc. will be incorporated into each design. Town planning, very important. You've all heard the stories there. Once the design is selected, finalised, Gifted Living will make all necessary arrangements to obtain the building permits and all approvals such as those for forestry and archaeology department, which is a bit of a minefield, those two. Fixed price and delivery date. This is going to be our point of difference and take that anxiety away that you all have. All terms of agreement will be laid out in a contract signed through a notary on the island. The contract contains information such as price, delivery date, building specifications, penalties for late delivery, and payment schedules. Construction. Gifted Living executes all construction work through qualified subcontractors, makes all relevant social security payments, ICA, as you know, overseas connections to electricity and water networks, collects all invoices and processes the procedure through the tax office, which again is another minefield for those that don't know. The building will comply with all applicable regulations such as seismic and structural loading, energy efficiency assessment, fire protection and building services. All that will be taken into consideration.
Can I ask a question?
Go.
What would you estimate somebody had had a block of land in Kithera and wanted to put one of your designs with an upstairs? Is your design got an upstairs?
We have a two-storey design.
Now,
Yeah.
what's the cost of to build it without buying the land? You've got the land,
Yeah.
and to put something upstairs as well. What would you be estimating a cost of that?
So it's a current building. You want to add a second level? No.
No. This is from the
Brand new, two-storey.
2 stories from the ground up.
Yeah.
An estimated cost to put a building up like that.
It's not that easy because, as I said, it depends how much your land size, your topography of the land. You know, if you could spend $10,000 in the ground because your land's not flat. So why don't we talk later, because that's a big, long story which I don't know if everyone wants to hear. Is that all right?
Would it be $200,000?
You can't say. I'd be stabbing in the dark and I wouldn't be doing it. It's wrong. But I'll finish and we'll have a chat later. Let's talk about my partners, because this can tie in as well with what you're saying. George, let's talk about George Fatsalis. George was born in Sydney, of all places, and now lives in Greece. He's the son of Tom Fatsalis from Vatsalika, who ran a shop fitting business in Sydney. You probably all knew George's father. He is a civil engineer and holds a master's degree in soil mechanics and foundation engineering from Newcastle University in England. George has run his own consultancy since 1998 and has offices in Athens and Kithitta, and has dealt with various projects such as houses, renovations, restorations, and listed properties. He actually was involved in the Metaphysiotissa monastery refurb